My word, what a day.
It's Wednesdays.
Soundstripe.
My word, what a day.
Soundstripe.
There has been so much happening in the news this last week. I think about a lot of it was clouded by the funeral procession for Queen Elizabeth II. And I must say that unintentionally I found myself on the bandwagon as well. My word, I started watching the Netflix series, The Crown. I don't even know how I got there. I don't even know how to get out. I am 2 seasons in and I'm just like, I don't want to proceed, but the historical benefit of it all is really, it's really what is, I don't know, it's tickling my fancy. Yes, it's tickling my fancy and I'm really engaging with the material on that aspect. There are many scenes and I'm only in season 2. There are some aspects that, you watch and then you realize that, oh my goodness, I didn't know that, and this is just a spoiler alert as an example. One of the scenes that I watched was the Queen really, I don't want to say struggling, but struggling is the word that comes to mind, struggling with the form of education she received compared to the education that the populace received. And her being really disgruntled and really unhappy with her mother, with the fact that she had to go and have a completely different set of set syllabus for her. And that was quite really interesting for me because I'd never taken into consideration that the form of education or how disgruntled a person could feel that they are entering rooms with head of states, presidents, and really people who have gone through the normal educational process to achieve the heights that they've achieved in the world. And here you are in the room having received this very singular form of education that you might feel inadequate for the role that you're taking on. And that was really interesting for me. I mean, there are many other things in the series that I've been finding very interesting. I find myself every once in a while picking up my phone and Googling, oh my gosh, tell me more about Margaret. Tell me more about this sister. Tell me more about her relationship. Tell me more about Philip, her husband. It's beautifully done, I think. There's a lot of things that now, as opposed to my podcast last week, there's a lot of things now which I reflect on very differently. I mean, obviously the atrocities are the atrocities and we cannot erase those and we cannot do away with them and we cannot do away with the linkages to Nazi Germany and we can't do away with any parts of that history. But something that really did fascinate me also with this particular series was, and it has completely left my mind, completely gone. What was it? Oh my word, completely gone. Got it. It was how the Queen was maneuvering or having to change as the times had changed. So at the beginning of her tenure, or her reign rather, not her tenure, at the beginning of her reign, there was a lot of technology, not technology, man. Radio was the form of technology that was used in order to transmit messages, and the television hadn't really, made its inruns into the world. But obviously, as we are watching history unfold and move forward and become more progressive, then television becomes this medium that people really engage with. And to watch how someone who was brought up in an old way of doing things, having to confront a new generation, new ideals, new topics, that's been very interesting for me. And if I think about when was it? The 1950s, when this is the period I'm currently in right now, the 1950s to where we currently find ourselves, and the advancements that we've made in technology, and how the monarchy has continuously had to adapt itself to meet I don't want to say the needs, but obviously the needs of the people that it governs in terms of communication. It's been very interesting to see how those changes have been rolled out and how they just haven't disappeared, from the populist mindset, which is also just another topic in these first 2 seasons that I've been watching that is really grappled with this fear around losing power and losing your place in society and losing your station. That's been very interesting for me to observe. So yeah, personally, I just feel like the news has been taken up with this funeral, and it's a sad moment, but it's also a very interesting moment in history for all of us, I think. Just from a historical perspective, in any case, if I think about that, this has been the longest reigning monarch that the world has known in recent times. Never mind that, or maybe the most popular monarch that the world has, whatever the case might be. We're at a very interesting point, because at this point, it was when 19 something, when her father had passed away, when the coronations and handling of funerals, that was really the last time that we had seen this from this specific monarchy, or this specific grouping of monarchy, whatever. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the next coming couple of months, and maybe even a year from now, how it all unravels. Will there be things that we are now given access to see, as opposed to what was formerly denied, And once again, I'm really eager to see how you transform yourselves as a institution, how you really meet the times. I struggle with the disengagement between the monarchy and the world. I don't know how it is in Europe or in the UK specifically, but with the world, for me, they just seem more like a fantasy, a dream that we all need to aspire to, which is quite boring. We've got enough publications for that, and I mean that was also really highlighted in in this series, The Crown, that they really had positioned themselves as an institution, but more as people, or as an ideal for society. Something for us all to reach towards, something for us to fashion our lives around, and maybe escape our mundane and ordinary lives into a land or a fantasy world, which is what they primarily, I don't know, for me at least, they primarily live around. But it's been, if you think about it, it's very interesting to see how the monarchy has been replaced in very modern times by celebrity. I feel like it's the same kind of narrative that we're always getting back, this idea that celebrity needs to whisk us away and give us something to dream about other than ourselves. And the Kardashians, as an example, do a fantastic job of it, just allowing for us to escape into their lives and into their world, even if it's just for an hour a day from our own lives. I do now, as an adult, see how destructive that specific ideal or behavior, or I don't want to say institution, what is the word? How destructive that form of media can be. Yeah, it can be very destructive and very unreal. Oh my word, something I didn't get to discuss last week was the Little Mermaid teaser trailer, and how absolutely gorgeous was it. In the beginning, I was really excited about it. It took me back to a moment in my life where things felt blissful. Things felt blissful, and you could escape into the into characters, and just escape into their worlds. So it was really, really interesting to see that trailer being rolled out. Obviously, there are always two sides to every story. There was a little bit of backlash. One that I heard was let's go with the most prominent one first. The most prominent one was that Ariel is not black. She's in fact white. I found this very interesting and entertaining for myself, personally, because she ain't real. This is not a real character. This is a fictional character. Disney can do whatever they want to do with the Little Mermaid. They can make her purple for all we care, for all I care about. Make her purple, make her yellow, make her blue. Whatever the case might be, she's not a real character. But it was very interesting to see that type of reaction and hostility against Ariel now being portrayed as a black female. Very, very hostile views happening there, which was quite not entertaining, but quite jarring. It really does once again speak to the amount of racism in the world and the amount of work that we still need to do to make sure that we are as inclusive as possible in all areas and facets of life. But that being said, the other aspect or the other discussion was that why is Disney, or why is Disney, this is not an attack on Disney actually, why is the industry being like forcing the agenda of inclusivity? You know, there are many different ways of doing this, and Ariel is a story that has existed from who knows how long. Years and years and years and years and years and years and years, babes. And years. Why not give us a new story? Why keep force feeding us the same narratives in just different versions? And obviously, in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of remakes of a lot of movies that we all watched as children. I understand the media side of it, or the psychological side of it, more than anything. People are familiar with the story. People understand the characters. It's not a lot for us to grapple with and have to dissect and really think about. We can really get into the stories a lot quicker. But on the other aspect, I mean, it is a valid point. Why not give us a new story? Why do we need to focus on Ariel? Were there no other princesses under the sea that we can focus on? But that all being said, I think the biggest issue was that Ariel was black. And I mean, boring. It was a boring, actually, discussion and a debate on it. But one thing that I did find fascinating was a couple of people obviously saying what I'm saying, that this is not a real character. This character is not real. We need to stop this. This is nonsense. And the other one was that if the Little Mermaid was a real character, she in fact would not be black or white or whatever. She would be gray. She would just be like ocean creatures, gray, scaly, hints of blue, you know. So I was like, you know what, yeah, that's absolutely true. So we really should not be, I don't know, throwing ourselves into a hissy fit over the color of this person's skin. But it does obviously give us a good view of good view, Woody? Were you gonna go with good view? It does give us a view of the levels of racism that still exist in the world, and it's uncomfortable. Obviously, naturally, it would be uncomfortable for a lot of people to have to go onto their Twitter and see these kinds of comments. Even if, no matter how progressive they are, I suppose a lot of white people were in their feelings about this. So that was really interesting. I did enjoy the videos of the little black girls who was seeing the teaser trailer. This cannot be a trailer at all. The teaser trailer for the first time, and the joy. Oh gosh, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful joy that of them witnessing someone who looked like them. And I will keep saying it week after week if it is necessary. Representation is so important. It is so key for many different people in this world to see characters like themselves on stage, on screen, in film, in media, in publications, to feel like they belong and that they're part of this world, and that we're not having a one-dimensional and exclusionary discussion at the expense of millions and thousands of people. It is absolutely important for all of us. In fact, I'm hoping for trans characters, but I might be pushing it. What I really though am looking forward to in the aspect of the Little Mermaid is I'm hoping that they give us an interracial relationship. I am looking forward to an interracial relationship just for representation purposes. I feel like those in interracial relationships are so underrepresented on TV. But then again, it's the same for bisexual people and gay people and lesbians and trans people, really underrepresented. But I would love to see an interracial relationship, and it just might be me because I'm in an interracial relationship, so I would love to see that. But I can't wait for the official and longer trailer, because this teaser, it was playing with my feelings, especially when Hailey started singing, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're just taking me back. I did end up watching The Little Mermaid, the original, and I have a lot of questions as like, what on earth were we watching as children? This girl This girl was so materialistic. It is absolutely disgusting. Her little cave with all of the spoons and the pictures and the ornaments and everything, and how she was just so impressed at having accumulated all of this stuff. I was just like, no, girl, this ain't it. This is not it. Can we have something? But anyway, as children, I suppose we were all taken by her story of falling in love, which was primarily what that was about. Ursula was an interesting character, but I love the baddies. I tend to gravitate to the evildoers in films and in films and TV series, just because like they just tell the truth. I mean, one of my favorite characters is Scar, but I am moving completely off topic. Let's rein it in. Talking about representation, let me not forget, it is bi week, so happy bi week to all the bisexuals out there. I am always hoping for better representation for you guys in media, in conversations all over the place. I really do hope that the world does get a much clearer understanding of what it means to be bisexual, instead of the... Is it still one-dimensional? It still feels one-dimensional to me. But instead of the one-dimensional view that we have of bisexuals, and particularly bisexual men, who I feel like, y'all have been done dirty by straight girls. Dirty. But y'all have also done yourselves dirty. But y'all have been done dirty by these straight women who really can't understand or... And before anyone like calls me out my name, I really am coming from a place of having in-depth conversation with a number of female friends around bisexual men, and the fact that they would never date bisexual men for a number of reasons. One of them, I think, is just fear around, a man leaving you for another man, because, I don't know, he can do it better. I'm not going to get into that debate. But yeah, happy bi week to all bisexuals from all walks of life. I'm really hoping that you guys are having a really good week, and that there's a lot of fun for you guys out there, and that there's a lot of celebration, and that there's a lot of awareness. Once again, for me, it's all about representation, and the importance of being seen and being validated, and being validated in the world. So happy bi week. And finally, can we talk about Britney? Okay, no. We don't need to talk about Britney, but I do want to talk about mental health just a little bit. I recently started watching the Oprah Winfrey and Prince Harry show. I believe it's called The Me You Can't See, which really tackles mental health issues, or really brings awareness to mental health in many spheres and many aspects of society. The show is really interesting to engage with. I began watching it, I think, last week. Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. Last week, Thursday or Friday. And I really had to take a pause from it because I was like, this content is very, very heavy. And it is halfway through the week and I'm nearly in tears. So I can't engage with this right now, but I'm going to watch it on the weekend. I've only gotten to, I think, episode 3 or 4. Yeah. And wow, I really commend this show for really being able to tackle this specific I don't want to say field of study. I'm always struggling with words, y'all. Always struggling with words. I really want to commend this show for tackling this specific sphere of science in the way that it's doing, by bringing this level of awareness and the different types of mental health issues that a lot of us face, and how these have been really exacerbated due to COVID-19, which is something I myself had really not been paying much attention to when 2 to 3 weeks ago, when I talked about it on this specific podcast, on this podcast, not specific, on this podcast, when I talked about it, like how exasperated a lot of us must feel now that COVID is over. And obviously I was just talking about like going back to the office but the reality is like there's so many other areas of our lives that have really been impacted, and COVID has really exacerbated our mental capacity in many areas, and how a lot of this has really brought out some things in us which we weren't engaging with before, or really didn't have the words or vocabulary. I always find a lot of the times that we're always either going through something specific, but we don't have the words or vocabulary to say, actually, that is what I'm going through. That is what I'm experiencing. So this show does a fantastic job of just bringing that to the fore, and also traveling with Oprah and Harry through their own personal experiences. I will say what put me on the crown in the first place, I think, was Harry on this show talking about his experience when Princess Diana had passed away, his mother, and him just reliving, or retelling us about that experience and what it had done to him, and the level of trauma that he had undergone and held on to for many years. That was very interesting, just to hear him recount all of that. So how does this all link back to Britney? Oh, gosh. So a lot of you might be familiar with, or maybe not familiar with at all. I think it was Thursday, because Orion is such a Britney fan that I was busy working on our wedding website, and he is like, Woody, like, oh my gosh. I don't know what he was saying. I don't know if they were canceling Britney. No one's going to cancel Britney. But they're unfollowing her. I don't know. But he was just talking about like, oh my gosh, he didn't want to say it, but she fat shamed Christina Aguilera in a post of hers, and I think it was unintentional, just from a personal perspective. And now the world is just gunning after her. And I read her post. It was a lot of Britney's posts for me are a bit confusing. I never really understand what she is trying to say a lot of the times, or what she's trying to get at. I've just always chalked up to the fact that, you know what, there are some secrets or some code words or some phrases that she uses just for herself, maybe to tell her story. But oh gosh, that girl has been through trauma, you know, and it's such a shame that I'm so grateful. I'm not even ashamed. I'm really grateful that she's not in the situation that she was it 2 years ago or a year ago? And that she's really trying to make strides to take control of her life for herself. I really do admire that. But that's not to say that she hasn't experienced a certain level of trauma that will, in all likelihood, most probably, in fact, live with her for the rest of her life. And I suppose it even hurts even more that it was members of her family who had orchestrated all of this. My heart really goes out to her. You know, when I'm reading her posts, I try to be as gentle as possible with the fact that this is a woman who has gone through a tremendous amount of scrutiny from the audience that she entertains, from the public, from the masses, from all of us, but also someone who's gone through a hell of a lot just from the circle in your life that should be the most loving and the most willing to protect you. It was, I don't know, the whole story for me is just very, very painful to witness. I have seen the reports that Christina Aguilera has unfollowed her. I don't know if that's true. I didn't bother doing research. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't want to get into it. I love Christina personally. So I don't know how me and Ryan get along in this household, but we do. I love Christina personally, so I really admired that she decided to actually just distance herself from the whole thing. And not really get engaged and do the back and forth thing. It's unnecessary all the time. And no, Woody, we're not going to do that. We're not going to get into that. Hinting at Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. But I really admired that she decided just to keep her mouth shut and just keep rolling with her life. But when I did view the posts that Britney had put out, I did just take a step back and was like, you know what, girl? I hope you get the help that you need, just from a mental perspective, just so that you get yourself right. But I can also respect the fact that that might not be the route that you want to take, because those institutions were used against you in order to keep you in a situation that you might never have needed to be in the first place. Once again, just my personal opinions. Love Britney. I love the work that she does. I love the contribution that she's made to the music industry in its totality over the last couple of years. It's been a long time, Woody. It's been a long time. But I hope that she does get the help that she needs. And if she doesn't want to get the help that she needs, that's okay too. That's really okay. She's been through a lot. So, we can just give her some room to breathe and a moment just to reflect on it all. Yeah.
Soundstripe.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of this episode of Wednesdays with Woody. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed today's conversation, today's insights, my views, whatever. I just hope that you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm really appreciative of you guys taking the time and the energy just to listen to me as I rant and ramble about whatever is in my brain and whatever has been entertaining me or I've been experiencing over the last week. And I hope to see you guys next week, as always. I hope to see you guys next week. I hope to entertain you guys next week. I hope I am entertaining. But if I'm not, I don't care. I hope that you guys have a blessed week going forward, because your boy is thoroughly drained. And happy bye week to all the bisexuals out there. I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week. Hope you guys get celebrated. Hope you guys find validation. Tell your stories. Always tell your stories. It's really important for me as a writer, as always. I just find it's always important to own your narrative. Own your narrative, tell your stories. Yeah. Until we meet again next week, guys. Adios, much love and light and all the good feelings. And yeah, I'll see you on the flip side, kids. Bye.